Dear students, let's start our class. We are going to continue the lesson Electoral Politics. Dear students, now we are going to discuss about what makes elections in India democratic. We get to read a lot about unfair practices in elections. Newspapers and television reports often refers to such allegations. Most of these reports are about the inclusion of false names and exclusion of genuine names in the voter list, misuse of government facilities and officials by the ruling party, excessive use of money by rich candidates and big parties, and intimidations of voters and rigging on the political party. Many of these reports are correct. We feel unhappy when we read or see such reports, but fortunately they are not on such a scale as to defeat the very purpose of elections. This becomes clear if you ask a basic question: can a party win an election and come to power not because it has popular support but through electoral malpractices? This is a vital question. Let us carefully examine various aspects of this question. Popular participation. Another way to check the quality of the election process is to see whether people participate in it with enthusiasm. If the election process is not free or fair, people will not continue to participate in the exercise. People's participation in election is usually measured by voter turnout figures. Turnout indicates the percent of eligible voters who actually cast their vote. Over the last 50 years, the turnout in Europe and North America has declined. In India, the turnout has either remained stable or actually gone up. In India, the poor, illiterate and underprivileged people vote in larger proportion as compared to the rich and privileged sections. This is in contrast to Western democracies. For example, in the United States of America, poor people, African Americans and Hispanics vote much less than the rich and the white people. The interest of voters in election-related activities has been increasing over the years. During the 2004 elections, more than one-third voters took part in campaign-related activities. More than half of the people identified themselves as being close to one or the other political party. 1 out of every 7 voters is a member of a political party. Common people in India attach a lot of importance to elections. They feel that through elections they can bring pressures on political parties to adopt policies and programs favorable to them. They also feel that their vote matters in the way things are run in the country. Acceptance of election outcome. One final test of the free and fairness of election has in the outcome itself. In elections are not free or fair, the outcome always favors the powerful. In such a situation, the ruling parties do not lose elections. Usually, the losing party does not accept The outcome of a election. The outcome of India's election speaks for itself. Number one, the ruling parties routinely lose election in India, both at the national and state level. In fact, in every 2 out of the 3 elections held in the last 15 years, the ruling party lost. In the US, an incumbent or sitting elected representatives rarely loses an election. In India, about half of the sitting MPs or MLA lose elections. Candidates who are known to have spent a lot of money on buying votes and those with known criminal connections often lose elections. Barring very few disputed elections, the electoral outcomes are usually accepted as people's verdicts by the defeated party. Challenge to free and fair election. So all this leads to a simple conclusion. Elections in India are basically free and fair. The party that wins an election and forms government does so because people have chosen it over its rival. This may not be true for every constituency. A few candidates may win purely on the basis of money power and unfair means. But the overall verdict of our general elections still reflects popular preference. There are very few exceptions to this rule in the last 50 years in our country. This is what makes Indian elections democratic. Yet the picture looks different if you ask deeper questions. Are people's preferences based on real knowledge? Are the voters getting a real choice? In election really level playing field for everyone? Can an ordinary citizen hope to win elections? Questions of this kind bring the many limitations and challenges of Indian elections to our attentions. Number one, candidates and parties with a lot of money may not be sure of their victory, but they do enjoy a big and unfair advantage over smaller parties and independents. In some parts of the country, candidates with criminal connections have been able to push others out of the electoral race and to secure a ticket from major parties. Some familiar trend to dominate political parties. Tickets are distributed to relatives from these families. Very often, elections offer little choice to ordinary citizens, for both the major parties are quite similar to each other both in policies and practice. Smaller parties and independent candidates suffer a huge disadvantage compared to bigger parties. Dear students, these challenges exist not just in India but also in many established democracies. These deeper issues are a matter of concern for those who believe in democracy. That is why citizens, social activities, or activists and organizations have been demanding reforms in our electoral system. Dear students, let's recap what we have learned. What makes election in India democratic? In India, elections are conducted by the Election Commission. The Chief Election Commissioner is appointed by the President of India. Popular participation, acceptance of election outcome, and last we have discussed challenges to free and fair elections. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.